What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Mac Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great Mac to everyone.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Mac Sports Connection podcast. I'm your host, Alex. Joining me, as always, is Graham. Boy, howdy. What a weekend we had in the Mid-American Conference, Graham.
Yeah, you want to talk about, I think we talked about last time, lots of prove-it games. Some things were proven, and some things were proven false. I think this is a weekend to remember. I think it sets the tone for the second half of the season. And wow, what a weekend it was.
Well, I think we should start with the elephant in the room. We're going to start with Bowling Green Toledo. Rivalry games obviously carry a lot of weight in terms of what people love to hear about, or I guess in this case, if you're Toledo, what you don't want to hear about. You want to hear two other words: fire, candle, or candle fired, I guess I should say. And well, let's just dive into this game a little bit. Toledo, 21-0 lead. With about a minute and a half left in the first half. Bowling Green scores on a big chunk play. Toledo takes a 21-7 lead into halftime. And then we got as what fans on Twitter are saying, a Jason Candle special. And Toledo gives up 21 points, 21 unanswered points. Ultimately loses.
28 unanswered points.
Yeah, 28 unanswered points. 21 in the second half, sorry. And loses 28-23. When Toledo was up 21-0, they had about Bowling Green had a 2% chance of winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is the score in the first half doesn't bum me out. It was a long play, and it was like Bowling Green just executing. It was it looked like a stellar Bowling Green drive at the end of the half there. And so that one, I think, is understandable, especially in a rivalry game. We watched Bowling Green come out and look pretty flat-footed at home. And then heading into the locker room, looked like it was Toledo's game to lose, and lose it they did. That's Eddie George's squad made some great adjustments on defense. Bowling Green's offense looked pretty mid through most of the game. I don't know how much of you watch it. The stats, I think, look better than the team actually looked. They looked okay. The offense didn't look bad, but it wasn't lighting the world on fire or anything. But that Bowling Green defense, man, they looked good, especially in the second half. Stood up, put a lot of pressure on Tucker Gleason, and really, that's the difference. That's the difference in the game. I know lots of people want to talk about the butt pick or the tush interception, whatever you want to call it. I know that that was kind of a game sealing moment, but I don't think that was the thing. That's to me, Alex. I think and we've resisted this call for years. This fire candle. We've made arguments. We've said, Candle wins. He doesn't necessarily always win the big game, but he does win. He has this team on track for MAC championships. He puts us in position to go to the game. But Alex, I'm sick of it. As a Rockets fan, I think when you look at this game and you say, Toledo came out here, they had the more talented squad. They had an excellent first half. They looked like they're ready to play. And then when Bowling Green makes adjustments and you have no idea what to do, that's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. And it's not like Toledo is a one-dimensional offense. Chip Trainum, excellent back. Junior Vandeross, excellent receiver. Tucker Gleason, pretty good. It's when we talk about the Toledo offense, there are places to go, there are things to do, and they couldn't get anything going in the second half. Toledo's defense suddenly looks relatively gone in the second half. We couldn't handle anything. And so I think the question is, at what point does Jason Candle make adjustments? I mean, from a fan perspective, watching the game, it looks like Jason Candle writes down a game plan and then refuses to go off book. He is 100%. We're following the script. Even if the script isn't working, we're going to follow the script. And I think we've seen, to the detriment of Tucker Gleason, we've seen that a few times. The same thing happened in that Western Michigan game, is that things weren't working. No adjustments were made. And I think that when we blamed Tucker Gleason, we said the kid couldn't get things going. But at some point, you got to start asking why the coaching staff is putting him in a position where a college kid has to make the adjustments that the coaching staff should be making.
And I think that's a great question. To your point about how the Toledo offense looked, they still racked up almost 450 yards of offense. The defense held Bowling Green to about 230. And I don't want to be here to make excuses. I do have some numbers for you, though. Jason Candle has now lost 6 of his last 11 MAC games, 2 losses in a row to Bowling Green. And then diving a little bit further, since 2021, Toledo has lost 17 games as the outright favorite. 12 of those have come as a favorite of at least 7 or more points. This leads the nation in losses as a favorite. This is the second half of the Jason Candle legacy. For all the pomp and circumstance that people want to give Jason Candle for now officially owning the record, the single win total in Toledo history. He's got some incredibly bad losses. And I think the argument could be made, if he would have won half of those games, he doesn't sniff the record. He's gone.
Well, yeah, I think maybe there's an argument there that he gets scooped up by another program and he ends up somewhere else. But I think that's the argument, isn't it? Is we want long careers out of our coaches within the MAC. We want these guys to stay home. We want them to build a sort of legacy. We want the Chuck Martins. We want the Jason Candles. But at the end of the day, it matters whether the teams are winning big games. And maybe we're spoiled. Maybe Rockets fans are spoiled. Jason Candle makes this team good year in and year out. And Rockets fans are spoiled because they want the team to be great every year. But I don't think that's asking too much. I think when you bring a program to the brink, we naturally expect it to take the next step, and it just hasn't.
Toledo is number 1 in scoring offense and scoring defense, yet they sit tied for 8th in the Mid-American Conference, sitting tied with Akron right now. Not a sentence I thought I'd be saying 2 games into the conference season. And again, it's early. I get that. I totally get that. We'll see where that ends here at the regular season. But quite the auspicious start here for the Toledo Rockets.
Well, I get it. Losses to a Bowling Green team who looks to be scary. I mean, this is a team who is sitting just below my top tier in the conference, but they do have the ability to rise to the occasion. And sometimes this Falcons team looks unbeatable. Now, they've yet to do that for an entire game, but you'll see them come out for a couple of series and look really good. So this Bowling Green team is certainly, especially in a rivalry game, it's not a team that you feel bad about losing to. It's not an embarrassing loss for Toledo, except the way that this game went. The same thing's true of Western Michigan. Western Michigan has shown this year that they are one of the top teams in the conference. So, a loss to Western Michigan, especially such a close loss, is not it's not the death knell that I think we look at. But you talk about early in the season, 8th in the conference, tied with the Zips. That's a tough look. It's still early. Toledo can still figure some things out, but it's tough to look at a Toledo team who is, we look scoring offense, the best team in the conference, scoring defense, the best team in the conference, just talent-wise, the best team in the conference, returned about 75% of their production on both sides of the ball. So compared to the average across the conference being about 40% returning production. So this is a team that should be dominating the conference and isn't. And I think Toledo fans are right to be upset that they're not.
Yeah, I think Toledo fans are spot on. And I recognize there's a lot that goes into coaching a football team, kind of preparing and game planning. The calls for Jason Candle's head are getting increasingly loud, and I think right now, rightfully so.
Yeah, I think it's hard to stand against him. We were making arguments against those calls for so long, but it's getting hard to continue to make those arguments. As far as additional games this week, because I think we could spend all day talking about this loss. Alex, my kind of prove it game this week was Miami at Akron. I think that game was the one that said, are these Red Hawks ready to be at the top of the conference again, or are they going to have a disappointing season? And their defense, anyway, showed up. I think their offense looked okay, but their defense, really, other than a garbage time score for the Zips, the Miami defense held strong and almost blanked the Akron Zips.
Yeah, no, Miami looks solid, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They had they had plenty of opportunities for a collapse, I guess, if you will. Offense put up 2 touchdowns, which great. Special teams, couple field goals, and you really corralled and kind of limited opportunities. Akron looked good through the air, though. Ben Finley looked great passing. I thought he did a nice job. Yes, he had 1 interception, but I thought he did a really nice job kind of commanding this Zips offense. But Cam Perry looked great. And Cam Perry, we were expecting to have finally start to break out. He only had 2 catches, but he had 77 yards, and one of those catches was a touchdown. And I gotta say, I'm starting to rebuy stock in Miami, who's now 2-0 in MAC play. DeQuan Finn, he looked solid. I don't know that I was necessarily impressed or thought that he did as much as he could have. Adam Trick had a great sack. This was a great team effort from Miami, who's been beaten up a little.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Miami team who we saw early in the season. I don't think we really expected a win against Wisconsin. They did not. There were some people who maybe jokingly called for a win against Rutgers. I don't think that most of that was serious. Their loss there. The loss against UNLV hurts. Yeah. A home loss against a UNLV team that you felt you could beat, but it was only by 3 points. So when we're talking about competition that we expect the Red Hawks to beat, taking down Lennon 38-0, that says something. Taking down Northern Illinois 25-14, that says something. Taking down Akron 20-7, that says something. I think maybe that UNLV loss convinced us that Miami was no good. And they're not. They are very good. They are a good team, and they're one of the teams at the top of this conference.
Yeah, right now sitting 2-0. The win at Northern Illinois, and we'll talk about Northern Illinois here in a minute, was a nice, hey, we're keeping the Mallory Cup at least a little while longer win. But then the win against Akron, you go on the road, not necessarily a tough environment, but that's back-to-back conference road games. A lot less time in your own facility, a lot less time in your own bed. Great win there. You now get Eastern Michigan at home. And you get Eastern Michigan at home this next weekend. And then the weekend after that, kind of depending on how Western Michigan kind of handles, I think they're on bye this next week. We're looking at undefeated versus undefeated in conference play. And I think that could be a really, really exciting matchup.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of matchup that, again, I keep using this term prove it games, but that's another prove it game for me. I think Miami is, I don't know. I was going to say Miami is the favorite there. I'm not sure that they are. In my mind, they seem like maybe they're the favorite, but I'm slowly getting convinced that this Western Michigan team might be for real. I know I'm going to eat my words as soon as I say that.
Well, I can tell you Western Michigan and Miami both sit at 5 and 6 respectively. Miami 23 points per contest, Western Michigan 22.9 per contest. And then after that, we've got a Toledo team, a Western Michigan team who sits at second in the conference in scoring defense, 17.7 points a game. And then Miami sits at fourth in the conference, 20.7. So we're looking at what could be a really, really exciting kind of slug it out defensive battle.
And certainly a contest between two of the top teams in the conference. Yeah, other games this week, I think the top game this week was probably Toledo Bowling Green. My second top game, I think we'll save for last. But the other game we talked about is this Northern Illinois Eastern Michigan game. And I saw both sides of the aisle on this one. Everybody picking both sides, about evenly split. I had Eastern in this one. I liked the Eagles, and Eastern showed out. That's the Eagles come out here and they show what they have in a game here, and against Northern Illinois, a team who I think we thought maybe would walk all over the conference on their way out the door, especially after they looked pretty strong last year. So far this year, looking pretty anemic in terms of offense. Eastern scores a couple of field goals in the first half. Northern Illinois responds with a field goal of their own and a touchdown to start the second half, but 10 points from Eastern in the fourth quarter result in that victory. Noah Kim, fewer yards than we expect from him. And only $147 through the air for Noah Kim, but enough to get the Eagles a victory.
Well, and I think right now for Northern Illinois, you've got Telly Johnson. This is going to be what gives you any kind of opportunity to win any sort of ball game at this point. The Northern Illinois fan base growing more and more frustrated with the Thomas Hammock regime. Thomas Hammock now officially 10 games under 500 as the head coach at Northern Illinois. And I think this for Eastern Michigan, not Northern Illinois, for Eastern Michigan, you needed this win purely because you lost the game. You lost a heartbreaker at Buffalo a week ago. You got kind of smacked around a little bit by Central Michigan. You needed this win to kind of rebuild that confidence and hopefully find some sort of offensive identity. I don't know that you really found it, but you at least found some points and a victory. So there's something to be said for that before you take on this Miami team this week. And so for Eastern, great. This is a great game. For Northern Illinois, not so great. You're now 0-2 in the Mid-American Conference in your final year. And I know there are plenty of MAC fans who are happy about that.
Well, NIU's only victory this year coming against Holy Cross by 2 points.
Yeah.
So we have one close win followed by 5 losses in a row. It's tough for Husky fans. I'm sure the team is trying to look ahead to this move to the Mountain West, but certainly not the season you'd like as your last season in the MAC.
Well, as your swan song season, you definitely were kind of hoping, hey, we're at least going to be in contention for the MAC championship. And anything's possible at this point, right? Truly anything is possible. But the more losses you start to add up in conference play, the harder that road to Detroit gets to be. And right now, starting 0-2 or 1-2, if you're Eastern Michigan, that road to Detroit is a lot tougher sledding than you might like it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, both of these teams, Eastern Michigan and Northern Illinois, are both going to have a tough time making it to a conference championship here. That's Northern Illinois looks completely shell shocked. I think they probably have 3 victories coming up for the end of the season, but I don't see them getting into bowl contention. Eastern Michigan, similar but worse.
Yeah.
Eastern Michigan playing a tough slate here to finish the year. So I don't really see either of these teams in bowl contention, but I think EMU has the slightly more optimistic season on their hands.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I know there are lots of Mac fans who are not upset in the slightest that Northern Illinois is struggling in their final season. And Eastern Michigan decidedly so, being one of the teams who gets to hand them a victory in their final year. Let's move on to this Kent State UMass game.
Well, hold on. I want to save that one for last. That was one of my favorite games of the week.
Okay, fine. Let's talk Ball State, Western Michigan. Shout out to the Ball State of the Union podcast. They did a great job of kind of blowing up our Twitter a little bit. Quite unhappy with the fact that Ball State didn't move in our power rankings this last week. And I know we're going to have a power rankings discussion here shortly, but very, very decidedly upset that Ball State did not move up, which, be that as it may, after beating the defending champs. And I had a DM with them saying, and I want to get the DM correct because I thought it was really funny when I was able to revisit it. We talked about this Ball State team, kind of threw some jabs like, y'all are haters, you guys don't really watch ball. I said, man, if you guys get smoked by Western Michigan this week, and he said Western Michigan beat UMass 21-3 and beat Toledo 14-13. They don't smoke anyone. If you all watched, you would know that.
Well, I think that, like I said a couple weeks ago, we get all caught up as MAC fans in watching our own team and forget to watch the rest of the conference. For those of us who watched a lot of the games in the conference this week, Ball State has looked suspect. There have been times when they look good. There's never been a time where Ball State has looked great this season, if we're being honest. But there have been times when Ball State has looked good.
Sure.
But they've always been shaky. And so against a Western Michigan team who fits a similar bill, frankly, a team who's never really looked great, but a team who has been way more consistent, I think you and I both saw it coming.
I don't know that I saw it coming to the degree that it ended up being. I think, if I'm being very honest, I was expecting like a 35-7, 35-10 kind of ball game. I was not expecting a shutout. Kyle Kelly, I was expecting to do a little bit more. He was 13 of 22 for just 68 yards. Brock Lowry, who won Player of the Week this week, Offensive Player of the Week this week for Western Michigan, 241, just 4 incompletions and 2 touchdowns. Like, he also added 108 yards on the ground on 13 carries and another score. So very much earned that. This Western Michigan team was just all over. And, we can talk about talent disparity, whatever. I don't know how much talent disparity there really is. Like, once you get into the MAC, like, you got a few teams who have more than others. I don't know that there's a big talent disparity between these two programs. Western Michigan just played a complete ball game and looked like a complete team.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's an advantage to playing at home, but it's not a 42-point advantage. Western Michigan looked like the better team, and I think Western Michigan has looked like the better team all season so far. There were a couple of games this week that I thought could go either way. This was not one of them. This was one of my solid games. It felt like this was definitely going to be a Western Michigan victory. And Western Michigan proved that that's how this game was.
Yeah, and looked great all the way through. Ball State, I thought, had a few opportunities, especially in the first quarter. Western Michigan found that touchdown late in the first quarter. I think it was about 2 minutes left to go. Ball State had some opportunities and then just couldn't get things going. They kept trying to turn the engine and just nothing happening. I don't expect Ball State to be a bowl team this year. I know we talked about it in our preseason. I don't necessarily expect them to be a bowl team this year, but they've got a couple winnable games left on their schedule. They've got a game against Akron. That Northern Illinois game is looking very, very winnable right now. And you've got Kent State, but then you've got Eastern Michigan, Toledo, Miami. So I could see Ball State finishing 4-8, 5-7. 6-6, maybe a coin toss game in there. And I think right now that coin toss might be Eastern Michigan, but I think 5-7 right now is Ball State's ceiling, and you can't expect Mike Uramovich to turn this program around in 1 year. And I think you have a program that's been declining since 2020, and a program that really hit near rock bottom last year. You can't expect a complete overhaul turnaround in year one of the Mike Uramovich era. That being said, I think Ball State will eventually be okay. Just don't expect them to go bowling here in year one.
Yeah, I'm not quite as pessimistic as you. I think their ceiling is 6-6. I think they can get there. That being said, that would be tough. I really think you're right. I think Ball State needs to go on a 4-game winning streak here in order to get that bowl eligibility. I think if they drop one of those games, that's pretty much it for them. I don't see them winning at Toledo or at Miami to end the year. Just a hard 2 weeks to end the year on. But who knows? They pulled out the victory against Ohio, so that's a team who really is a better team, frankly. So anything can happen in the MAC. We know that, especially those late season MACtion games. So it's possible. But I do think 6-6 is the ceiling for the Ball State Cardinals. And it's possible that they get there. But these next 4 weeks are going to be a big deal on the way to that.
A prove it game almost every week the next couple of weeks for Ball State, honestly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Ball State fans were a little bit right when they came out and they said, what's going on with this power rankings. I mean, I think we're going to have a discussion about what power rankings are just in a few minutes here. But I think that it makes sense that fans might be upset that after a victory over one of the conference's best Ohio Bobcats, that why doesn't Ball State move up? And for those of us who have watched the games, it's because Ball State hasn't looked particularly impressive this year. So next 4 weeks, an opportunity to show that they are impressive and maybe show that we have been underappreciating the Ball State Cardinals so far this year. Another team who's gone underappreciated this year, despite Golden being right in their name, the Kent State Golden Flashes trounce UMass 42-6.
Just again, we talked about what Kent State could do and kind of what their ceiling was this year. I think as high as 3 games. Well, they've got 2 of them right now. Just an absolute dominant effort against UMass. And what does it say more about how bad UMass is or about how much Kent State is saying, hey, we're trying to get better, or maybe both?
I think it says both. That's Kent State is doing better than I think we expected them to. A win at Merrimack was expected. The loss at Texas Tech, Buffalo, Florida State, Oklahoma, all expected. So far, they've done about what we expected of them. I think most people had the Flashes picked to win this one. I don't know anybody who thought that they would win 42-6. This is a big show out for Kent State. It makes me really excited for that wagon wheel game in November. I think that's going to be a really great matchup against Akron. They go to Toledo next week, so I don't know that we're going to see any win streaks here. But frankly, just a great game. Jareelis Clark with another kick return touchdown, 91 yards. This one, I mean, come on, guy, that guy is just exciting.
Man, yes, just what a fun player to watch. Like you go out and you watch what he's able to do. Just I'm impressed watching him every single time he touches the ball. You just feel like, and I'm gonna catch heat from Kent State fans. I'm feeling like elements of Josh Cribbs. Like you're like, there's something electric could happen right now, and I feel that with him.
Yeah, every time he touches the ball, it's really, really exciting. Yeah, I don't quite get the Josh Cribbs or the Dree Archer quite yet, but he is certainly very exciting. This game, Kent State just came out. They turned on the gas and they didn't really let up. Drew DeShields, 4 passing touchdowns. They put another one in on the ground rushing. They put one in on that Darius Clark return. And they end up with 42 points, a 21-point third quarter, and really a game where Kent State got a chance to play the game they wanted to play. Their defense looked good, their offense looked good, and an exciting win for the Flashes at home.
Well, an exciting win for Kent State, and just finally a complete game. Kent State, they won their FCS game kind of off that kick six or that kick return for the touchdown. And that was what kind of sealed that win against, I believe that was Merrimack. And then, then they lost that close one at Buffalo. So you kind of got the feeling Kent State was close to being decent. You knew they weren't going to beat Texas Tech, Florida State, Oklahoma, but getting this win against UMass, that is a huge boost. And I think now, Kent State had an incredible amount of kind of turnover. This is a team that I would not be surprised, or this is a program that I would not be surprised if they said, "Hey, we're gonna keep Mark Carney." I think he is starting to show that he's earning this job. I was never expecting them as a bowl team. I was never expecting them to win really at most more than 3 games, but they're playing competitive football against opponents at their level. And that is such a sign of life that we haven't seen out of Kent State in 2 years now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a program that looks like they're actually playing football. And for 2 years, they haven't been. So this is a good sign. I don't know that this necessarily means that Mark Carney gets to stay, but it can't hurt. And when we talked to him in the offseason at the media day, certainly a guy that we're rooting for, and somebody who wants to turn the program around. So I think this is a good sign for him. I'd like to see a few more wins from the Flashes, especially a win in that wagon wheel rivalry would be a big statement. But yeah, I mean, this win over UMass, win the games you're supposed to win. They're supposed to win this game over UMass. They do in convincing fashion. They've got some exciting players. They're showing up on highlight reels. So I think things are looking up for the Flashes.
Kent State last year was minus 283 yards per game and minus 30 points per game. And this year they just returned 7 stars. So there's something Mark Carney's got these kids believing in, and that's an unbelievably refreshing change for Kent State football. Ball State football too. They got a new coach who's getting these kids ramped up to play some football. But hats off to Kent State and getting for them a big win and a step in the right direction for the program.
Absolutely. They are so exciting to watch. And it's specifically Darius Clark is very exciting to watch. I don't know if you heard, but there was a pretty great radio call for that kick return touchdown. But if you want to listen to any radio calls for kick return touchdowns or otherwise, Alex, I recommend the Varsity app.
Graham, I think that's a great place to start because it's free to download, first off, on the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. And within that app, you can listen to all those calls from across all the big D1 schools. So you want a MAC call, you want an SEC call, Big Ten school, any of those calls, you've got them. So you can sign on, save your favorite schools and sports, and any of the other content for quick and easy access. In fact, you're also going to find a bunch of incredible podcasts on there as well through the Varsity Podcast Network. And it's going to include fan favorites such as yours truly, the Max Sports Connection, Group of Five Guys podcast, Sickos Committee podcast, and many, many more. So make sure you guys have downloaded that Varsity app for free. Start listening to the calls and the podcast that bring your schools and conferences to life. Gotta love that varsity app.
Absolutely. That's the Alex. There's been a little bit of controversy surrounding our power rankings. Now
A lot of it.
Now I think the controversy is overblown, because every time I talk to you and you talk about controversy, I go, "Oh no," and then you say, "Yeah, like 5 people DM'd me," and I don't know. I think 5 DMs is maybe a little low for controversy.
Listen, I'm just saying that I had family controversy this week, and I only got 2 DMs. So
yeah, well, there's not that many members of your family, Alex. So in any case, I think it's important to remember that power rankings are not rankings, right? This is not the AP poll. This is not the coaches poll. This is not the Max Sports Connection poll. This is our power rankings. This is the feeling that we have about these teams as what their current power level is. Everything aside, if we took these teams and we had them play 100 games against each other, you would expect that in at least 51 of those games, the team ahead in the power rankings would win. That's the question. It's not a reflection of how good a season these teams have had. It's not a reflection of how good of a season that we think they will have. It's a reflection of what we think the quality of the team is. So when we look at a Toledo team who is returning over 70% of their production from last year, who has proven quantities, who has Chip Trainum at running back, who has a solid coach who seems to always get wins out of a program, who, when we look at the advanced metrics provided by other platforms, we see that the team is probably the most talented team in the conference. Now, does that mean they get to be number 1 in our power rankings? No, because sometimes you got to prove it on the field. Hypothetical power is not real power, but the kind of things that we look at for these power rankings are the actual quality of the team, not necessarily the product that has come out in terms of victories and losses.
It's not just about the wins and losses. That's I think, and that's a point that needs to be kind of made very clear. A one-off win over a team or a one-off loss to a team doesn't reflect the full strength of what that program has. Now, you start losing more or you start winning more, that ranking can change. It's not static, but you're not going to see, if UMass comes out tomorrow and beats, let's say, Western Michigan, UMass isn't going to jump up to number 4 in our power ranking. That's
right.
Just not how it happens.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, we know that results on the field mean something. In fact, they probably mean more than any of our outside analysis. That being said, the scoreboard is not as important when it comes to these power rankings. It's what's important is the way these teams got to those victories. So if a victory looks fluky, it doesn't count as much as a victory that looks more dominant.
Mm-hmm.
A dominant win over UMass, a dominant win over your opponents, a dominant win over Ball State is a good sign that your team should be ahead of them in the power rankings. So I think in terms of power rankings, we welcome the controversy, but I think an understanding of what power rankings are is an important place to start. And please keep DMing Alex with your concerns over the power rankings, because every time one of you says something like you don't know ball, your team loses. It is 100% the case. It has happened every time, and I laugh every time.
You're not wrong, Graham. Looking back at some of these DMs, again, our friends over at the Ball State of the Union, having a lot of fun in my DMs this week. Got called out by Willie Sneed, so I think that's my crowning achievement in life. Willie Sneed called me out, so I think I can retire now, Graham, as a podcaster. But it's all in good fun, and we certainly appreciate it. It's great to have some back and forth with some passionate MAC fans, passionate fans about their schools. But please keep DMing me, especially if as a definitely slightly biased Toledo fan, DM me right before you play Toledo, please. I beg you.
Also, DM Alex any trash talk you have if your team happens to be beating Toledo, because he likes to feel bad about himself.
I do.
In all seriousness, we love the passion from Mac fans. It's why we do the show. And it is great to see people engaged enough to reach out to Alex of all people, who is just not a sparkling conversationalist. So I don't know why people are so intrigued to talk to you. Coming up this next week, Alex, we have a few more MAC matchups. Kent State coming to Toledo. Should be an interesting game. Kent State coming off a big win. Toledo coming off a big loss. I think Toledo is going to be wanting to get a little bit of vengeance and defend their home turf against the Flashes. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to run up the score here. But that being said, a matchup of blues and golds.
I'm really excited for this one. Kent State riding high after that dominant win. Toledo, a little bit back to earth. There were national aspirations for Toledo about being a possible playoff team. And now, as David Briggs aptly wrote in his article this weekend, they're not even the best team in Northwest Ohio as it stands right now. So I'm very excited to see what Toledo can do. Kent State officially sitting above Toledo in the conference standings. So I guess Toledo wins. That's an upset, right? I'm kidding, of course, but it's very interesting. All but 3 programs are in all but 4 programs in the MAC are winless on the road. Kent State being one of them. So something to keep an eye on for that game.
Toledo favored in that game 25.5 points right now. That game is at 2:00 on Saturday, ESPN Plus. Akron takes on Ball State in Muncie. This one, Ball State favored here, but only by 1.5 points. This is another prove it game for the Cardinals. We like Ball State. We like the direction this program is headed. But you got to beat the teams like Akron if you want to continue that rise. So I think this will be an interesting one to watch. That game 3:30 on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Ball State again, very much a prove it game. Schumann Stadium should be rocking. Looking forward to watching these two teams clash.
Central Michigan takes on Bowling Green. Bowling Green gets to host another home game following their big win over rival Toledo. This one is an interesting game. I think Central Michigan fans were excited about their team coming into the season and thinking maybe that they had an opportunity to be one of the top teams in the conference. Those hopes may have been dashed a little bit, but certainly an interesting game here. CMU at Bowling Green. Bowling Green favored in that one by 4.5. We'll see if Drew Pine is back. But this one at noon on CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, I'm very curious as to what Central Michigan does. Obviously, not getting the result they wanted against Akron a little over a week ago. They had a bye week. So Bowling Green coming off a highly emotional game. Central Michigan coming off of almost 2 weeks at that point of not playing football, a lot of rest. So very, very interesting to see where that one goes. That should be a lot of fun.
Another noon game, this one on ESPN Plus. Eastern Michigan takes on Miami. We talked about this one briefly earlier, but we'll see if Noah Kim can bounce back, have one of those high passing games that we've come to know and love from him. Eastern Michigan gets a chance to show something at Miami. Now, I think Miami is going to defend their home turf. This one in Oxford, Miami favored by 13.5.
Yeah, I don't see Eastern really winning this one. I think they definitely have some of the offensive chops to put up a few points, but Miami's got, again, one of the best defenses in the conference, and they're not gonna let Eastern do Eastern things. We saw Eastern play a really tough NIU defense a week ago, only put up 16 points, and they needed 10 of those points in late in the game to win that one. So yeah, I don't see I don't see Eastern's offense really outdueling this Miami defense, but I think the spread right here, that's a pretty good spread. I think it's 13.5, like you said. I think that's a pretty good spread.
Buffalo traveling to Amherst to take on UMass. That one at 2:30 on Saturday. We'll see how this game goes. I mean, UMass, I think, is going to have some tough sledding for the rest of the year, as we said. Expect the Bulls to win this one, but certainly it'd be interesting to see a MAC school traveling to UMass here. Buffalo favored in that one, 16.5. That game 2:30 on ESPN Plus.
If you are betting on this game, smash Buffalo to cover that. We just saw Kent State eviscerate UMass. I would smash the Buffalo minus 17.5, 16.5. Smash that today, because that's only going to get wider.
Northern Illinois taking on Ohio down in Athens. This one, a game that maybe we circled preseason as an interesting matchup, has gotten less interesting as the season has gone on. The Bobcats favored 11.5 in that one. I think Parker Navarro and company are going to be ready to take down the Huskies.
Well, Ohio is on a 10-game winning streak at Frank Solich Field there at Peden Stadium. They're going to be looking to try to make that 11. There's a lot of desire to push this game or to push this offense forward. You know, you come off that loss to Ball State. You got a week of rest. Now you have a chance to, hey, let's refocus. All of our goals are still in front of us. We can still, play Miami, win the Battle of the Bricks. We can still win a MAC championship. We can still go to a good bowl game. And you can still possibly win 10 games. That would be 4 straight seasons of 10-plus wins for Ohio if they can do that. So all of their goals are very much in front of them. I fully expect the Huskies to put up a good defensive fight, but with the offense as anemic as it is, this is an offense that's averaging roughly 10 points a contest. You're going to need more than 10 points, even if your defense is lights out. You're going to need more than 10 points to win a football game, and you're not going to do it in Athens.
Yeah, I think that's the case here. We'll see if Chase Hendricks continue his exciting run as one of the top receivers in the country. That game at 3:30 on ESPN Plus sounded a little bit like Daffy Duck there for a second, but it's going to be a fun game to watch regardless. Absolutely.
Well, guys, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Graham, do you have anything else for the folks at home before we wrap this up and send it out?
Send us your own power rankings, whatever they are. But if your team is at the top of the list, we're going to immediately throw them out.
Unless you have valid reasons, such as...
No, even if you have valid reasons.
You guys heard it here first. We're throwing anything out that is not our power rankings. So, no, we appreciate all the love and support and the passion from you guys. You guys are bringing that energy, challenging us on different things, and it keeps us on our toes. And we really, really appreciate it. Shout out to all of you who continue to message and interact and comment and agree and or disagree with things we have to say on the show. You guys make it fun. You guys make it interesting. And like I said, we appreciate all that love and support. So make sure you guys have followed us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Blue Sky, Twitter X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And then you can find the podcast anywhere podcasts are. If you're listening right now, great. If you know somebody who should listen, send them our way. And they can find that anywhere podcasts are available, whether that be Amazon Music, Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, anywhere podcasts are, we're available. iHeartRadio even. So we got plenty of places for you to check us out. Thanks so much for tuning in this week, guys. We appreciate it. And we'll bring you more action here next week.